Welcome to another episode of Insurance Gone Wild. We are having fun today here off camera. I am Dennis Settlemoir, your host, with my co-host, the lovely
Stephanie Lencioni.
Stephanie Lencioni.
Yes.
There, I said it. I gotta acknowledge it every time.
Done.
So today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to talk about some of the items or some of the subjects or some of the problems that we've run into in just the past week or so.
Yep.
Just the past week or so.
Yep.
You know, one of the things about an insurance agent that people generally don't understand is, well, let me back up. I think that for most people, insurance is a monthly bill. Right?
Yeah, and one that they hate.
Unless it's homeowners insurance. But it's just a monthly bill.
Right.
And they don't always understand what is behind some things that's going on from an insurance purpose, what it does, why it does it, what are some of the issues. And we've talked before in another episode about you need to make sure that your agent is asking a lot of questions and not assuming certain things, right?
Yeah, it's not cookie cutter, right? So there are some things that are pretty standard, right? Like, hey, these coverages should be on there. And then there are other things where it's like, hey, well, specific to you, we need to make sure that this is covered. Mm-hmm. And you don't know if, like, I don't know how expensive your wedding ring is, and not that we necessarily ask that, but that would be one thing. We had that. I had a client call and was like, hey, how much coverage is on my policy? Because I lost my wedding ring. And I'm like, oh. So anyway, but yes, so it's without
Is that
asking.
The one you asked me about when you asked me about jewelry insurance?
You betcha, baby.
Yeah, if it's worth over $1,500, I would probably suggest putting it on its own policy.
Which is almost every ring.
Not all. I mean, you could get.
Oh, not a guy. I'm saying
a wedding band is $200-$400.
Okay,
maybe,
I think
maybe $100.
Anybody watching this right now, nobody went to like. No man looked at his ring and was like, I think maybe I should insure this.
Don't say no, man. There's some out there that got diamonds and such in it.
99% of men watching our podcast. I don't think we have a ton of men with diamonds in their rings watching our podcast.
Yeah, that may be true. I don't know that.
Thank you. Although if you are, please comment and let us know so we can insure your ring and add either a rider or a separate standalone policy.
Yeah, so the $1,500 in Texas is typically what a policy will pay for if it's stolen.
What about loss?
Loss it if you just lose it. Yeah, they're not paying anything.
They do.
Not on a homeowner's policy.
Oh, that's the standalone policy.
Yeah, standalone policy, they'll pay for mysterious disappearance.
And I have a friend who their wife has had like 3 of those paid out. She gets angry and throws them. I don't know.
Oh, well, that's a whole. That's.
I'm like, are you sure she didn't find that? And then she's like,
from your side of the line.
Listen, they're not clients, so it's fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or we'd have a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no doubt. But yeah, so let's talk about a few things that we've run into in the last few weeks. A week, 2, 3. Actually, you don't have to go very far with some of the stuff that we run into, right? Today, I ran into whatever it may be. So I'm going to start with you. What do you have that you've run into that you're like, yeah, this was a little something that most people just don't know?
Well, I would say, hey, I lost my wedding ring. Mm-hmm. There was that one. Another one, it wasn't even like, hey, I don't know, but it was like, hey, my kid, they got kicked off of our family insurance because they aged out. We don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. So I knew that they were 26 by the information. So I ended up I called, left a message, couldn't get in touch with them, sent an email saying, hey, these are kind of the basic options, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, well, actually he hopped on and I was pretty proud of him. He like figured it out on his own and he went to healthcare.gov and he found a plan. And so I guess he's covered there for the next year and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, about that.
Yeah.
So he's not covered for the next year, which is not a problem. That doesn't make it a bad plan, but he doesn't get a tax credit. And so you send the 3 different options, and really it's 3 different options that people have. They have a health sharing option, they have healthcare.gov, and they have a short-term option. And so I just kind of broke down all of them. She's like, wow, this is really great information. Thanks so much. But yeah, he did this. And so I guess he's covered for the next year. And I was like, again, not for the next year. Doesn't mean it's bad, but just maybe a reconvene in November or December for the upcoming year and see what's going on and blah, blah, blah. The other thing is the misconception, because one of those things that I included was health sharing. And she was like, yeah, I got to tell you, I really don't like those. I don't trust those. It's the whole reimbursement thing. We know people who have done it and they've had a terrible experience. So there are not a ton, but there are multiple carriers that do that. Or companies, maybe not carriers, because that's an insurance term.
Aspect?
Well, health sharing. I would say health sharing,
okay.
Right? That's like the...
So reimbursement, let me just define, reimbursement is you pay everything up front and then the insurance company reimburses you back whatever the contract says. Yeah. Yes, is how I would say that. And so health sharing, though, can be a cost-effective option, but in the past, and depending on which company you use, can be a real pain in the butt to use. And at that point, we've talked about this in a ton of different, like for years and years and years, like the value sometimes isn't about price, it's about service. Mm-hmm. So yes, I want a good price, but if I get a good price and I don't have zero service on the back end, I would love to pay premium price. That's why Chick-fil-A does so well. I mean, you're spending $20 for a single person going through the drive-through, getting a meal. Yeah, what's the service?
But damn it, they meet you with a smile too, and they're very pleasant, and it's like, oh my gosh, absolutely, and they get you in, they get you out. There's a reason they're super successful, and they have a line on major streets. But man, that thing moves. Mm-hmm. Service, premium price though. So anyway, kind of derailed there, but the whole so. We have the health sharing that we use. So I said, hey, I completely understand where you're coming from. I had the same opinion until we found this company. And that is not at all like this company. It acts as though it feels like you have a traditional medical plan. So you go in and then they just say, oh, okay, yep, great. This is what you owe, no problem. And then you move on. So there isn't this, you're paying something and then you have to make a claim with the company and then the company has to pay you back and then you're waiting. And so there was just a little misconception there.
And generally they're less expensive monthly.
Oh, tremendously.
But there are some requirements that you have to meet, which we will talk about if you will email us or call us.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but it's, and then I do say, and I don't say this with everything, but if we lost coverage through my husband's job, because it's amazing, we'd probably be on that.
Would you qualify for it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that is certainly something people, and it goes back, there's things that...
I didn't like your tone. I'm a very healthy person,
I
Dennis.
asked the question and I'm like, I better not go down that.
Oh, we'll go down that road later.
We'll go down that later. But
yeah,
no, that is certainly, that's things
check
that
your
happen.
Brakes is all I can tell you.
People don't know what they don't know. And there's things about us as individuals, there's things that we don't know that we don't even know we don't know. And so I think by the nature of our personalities, we want to understand things so that we can make qualified decisions. And I believe that the vast majority of our clients are the same way. And that's why we have the approach that we have. The approach of is to... The approach of... Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. But our approach is to prospects and clients is, here's the information. You need to make the decision. I can't make it for you.
Yeah.
I literally had that conversation today on the way over here on my Bluetooth in my truck. I've got a a prospect, super good folks as far as I can tell. And I
like the disclaimer.
Yeah.
Like, we're not even using names, but you're like, I mean, as far as I can tell, they were good. So don't hold me to it. Don't hold me to it.
At least one of them might watch this, so they because
funny.
they said they watch from time to time, but not that he really cares. But I'm just not going to use any names. But they super good folks, and the problem is they back in early April they had a lapse in coverage. Either their old agent didn't tell them that their renewal was coming up, or the old general manager of the organization who was handling everything just didn't do anything with it. So with the renewal.
So I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off. Just is this a personal lines or a commercial?
This is a commercial client.
Because personal lines typically will auto renew unless they are canceling you.
That's correct. So this is commercial.
But commercial is not that way.
Not always.
Not always.
No.
Okay.
So commercial account, commercial prospect, they cancel for non-pay. Well, the owners didn't even know
it was up.
It was up because they don't handle that aspect of it. The old general manager was the one that handled that, and the old agent. So when the owners found out, they were
quite upset.
They were quite upset.
Yep.
Yes, they were quite upset.
Yep.
And the new general manager called me and said, "Hey."
Oh, wait. Say that again.
The new general.
There it is.
The new general manager.
New general manager.
Yes.
So lots of lessons to be learned in this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Who was fixing a lot of things that the old general manager had not done or done.
Yeah.
But anyway, the new general manager said, "Hey, we need a quote and we need it quick." So as I started digging into it, because I'm not going to tell you much about the industry, but as it's not an industry that's really easy to place coverage for. And so as I start getting into it and I start asking more questions, well, their policy ended on 4/5, April 5th.
Okay.
They had a claim on April 4th.
Oh, thank God.
Yes, they have coverage. But do you think what are the insurance companies thinking about that? What's going on? They're asking me a ton of questions. So when I first talked to the owners, I didn't know all this, or I didn't understand all. They mentioned something about it, but they didn't get into details. I've gotten more details since. But when they said, "Okay, well, how long will it take us to get a quote?" I'm like, "Oh, probably with this type of risk, probably a week, 10 days, business days, we should have a quote." It's been about 20 days. We still don't have a quote.
Because of the circumstances,
Because of the they have claims.
And a gap.
They have the gap.
That's the issue.
Whoever was responsible for the gap has screwed them over in letting me get something really, really quick.
Right.
Now I can get something. I finally do have a quote. I have two quotes. One is a little more reasonable. It's higher, but it's reasonable. The other one is very unreasonably high. It's like 5 times higher than it should be. So the insurance company should have just said, "We're not interested." But anyway, the fact of the matter is that having a gap in coverage on commercial is a big deal. It's a big deal on home and auto too, especially on auto. Because you have a gap on auto insurance. If you have a gap on auto insurance, that can affect your new premium.
Oh, absolutely.
Because most companies want to see at least 6 months of
the continuation.
The continuation.
Well, at least 6 months, but you get a better discount if you see years of
continuous coverage for 12 plus months.
Yep.
You get a better deal than you do even 6+ months. But if you have a gap, it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt.
Well, then you have to go to companies that if you're a typical normal company shopper, and then all of a sudden you have to go to a
secondary market.
There's nothing. There are plenty of good people who are on those, but it's a culture shock, and then you have to. But you just at that point you gotta bite down, bear it, and wait for the 6 months, 12 months to pass, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, and
I mean that's just
and
it is what it is.
Yeah, and it goes into another thing that I've run into recently is sometimes I have to be the bearer of important news. Let's put it that way.
The asset? Said with an accent?
Yes, the asshat.
Yeah.
But no, I had a conversation with a guy today who we've been looking at some stuff for him, personal lines, homeowner stuff. he has rental homes, and he has one, let's call it an LLC, that he was trying to get insurance on for a rental home. Well, he ended up, we looked at it and we're like, I don't think we can help you with the premium that you currently have a quote from another company. And we were just very open and honest with him. And he goes, okay. So he goes with the other company. The other company comes back and goes about, a month later, we're going to cancel the policy because we don't write rental homes under the name of a company. We only write it in the name of an individual.
And it took you a month to figure that out?
It took them a month to
That's
audit.
Well, not you. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Month, but where...
Well, the agent, what it is the other agent wrote it under the name of the individual, and the insurance company did a little due diligence and found out it's actually the name of a LLC.
Yeah.
The rental home it's owned by an LLC. So yeah, we don't do that. So it was one of those things where the agent didn't ask enough questions. So
that got weird.
The other agent didn't ask enough questions. So I'm looking at this, and I'm generally really good about asking questions, right? I mean, people will tell you that you've talked to, and you tell them, Dennis is going to ask you a lot more questions than anybody else. And the reason is that we don't like surprises. Well, guess what? Surprise to me, he calls me back and says, hey, can you quote this? They're canceling me because of what I just explained. I'm like, yeah, we can quote it and go back. Well, everything's twice as high because the company they're with, he doesn't understand. A typical investor doesn't understand why is everything else so high compared to this. No, everything else is the same price, about the same price. You just have something that's very inexpensive. Why is it inexpensive? So there's a different way of looking at things. And he got it. He's a good guy. He understood that. But the bottom line was that I'm quoting it and I'm thinking, okay, we may have found something that's an in-between price he might be interested in. So I call him up and I'm like, have you ever spoken to an agent about your particular situation? An insurance agent? Well, no, I've got a real estate attorney, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no, that's not what I asked. Oh, I've never had a problem insuring it stuff before. I'm like, that's not what I asked. What I asked was, have you ever spoken to an agent about the overall situation of what you've got going on with this particular company? He goes, well, no, I don't think so. I'm like, well, here's the thing. You have 5 or 6 properties under this one company. There is no way that a personal lines company is going to take this because for just one insurance company, for just one property, if they know you have 5 others.
Oh, they want everything.
They want everything. And he was like, well, why? I'm like, because of the exposure. Because if you get sued for just this one, that opens them up to defend you for the other ones because a lawyer is going to go after all of them, not just one of them.
Right.
And he got it. But I had to be the bearer of news.
Bad news. Mm-hmm.
Bad news.
Well, yeah.
But we did talk about it. And he goes, well, what do you think I should do? I'm like, well, you probably need to speak to that real estate attorney. And because attorneys don't know anything about insurance unless they're personal injury. They really, very seldom do they know much about insurance. I mean, I shouldn't say ever. They just know a few concepts, which I've run into that this week also, where I had to tell an insurance company, a law office that was requesting something. I'm like, well, if you guys want to get in a pissing match, let's do it. That's what I told them right over the phone. Let's do it.
Right.
Because obviously you don't understand how insurance works. Well, no, we don't want to get in a pissing match. Well, then you need to back off of this crap that you're asking for because you can't do it. Well, we get this all the time. I don't care if you get it all the time because insurance agents send stuff out all the time. They don't even understand what they're doing. I'm telling you that you cannot do it. If you don't believe me, do more research.
Right.
So anyway, they backed down and we were able to get some stuff done. But and that's literally the word for words what I told him. So, but anyway, this particular guy, he got it. He goes, what do you think I should do? He goes, maybe I should get basically have every rental home in its own LLC. I'm like, that would be awesome. Because if you have a problem with one of them and you get sued, lawyers by nature are lazy. They're not going to sue all 5 LLCs because that means they have to file 5 different lawsuits. And they know they're not going to make that much money unless it's a really, really bad claim. And since you don't have a pool, chances are you're not going to have a really, really bad, that type of claim.
Right.
They're going to want to go after all 5 of them. And he goes, that would probably only cost me blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, I don't know what it would cost you, but it would probably be the best in the long run. And then you could get a policy for each one and you'd better. I didn't tell him you could get a policy for all of them, even if they're on one. Even if they're
commonly owned,
LLC,
like common
because
ownership.
Of common ownership. So, and that's another thing. If you have common ownership in the LLC and that particular ownership owns multiple LLCs or companies, you can potentially put it all on one policy. So, so that is another thing that I've run into just literally today.
Yeah.
This morning. And I said, man, I'm sorry to have to explain this to you. And he goes, well, I said, you still need insurance on this one property. He goes, well, I've reached out to this one company, XYZ. And I'm like, I never even heard of them. So I looked them up. I don't know them, but I know one of the parent companies because it's a subsidiary and I have access to the parent company. But here's probably what I would do. If you really want to get insurance on that right now, go ahead and get you some temporary insurance on it. Get your stuff figured out and give me a call back and we can fix this correctly to protect you the best. Because he has a number of rental homes and under different companies.
Yeah, it seems a little...
Holding companies is what they are, but under multiple holding companies. I'm like, we can do something with it, but until then, I to be honest with you, I mean, I don't want to get involved with that.
You don't want to touch it.
I don't want to touch anything right now because
too many gaps,
it's
too
a
many...
little bit volatile.
Yeah.
Now, he may never have a problem. But here's the thing.
Yeah, but that's
he didn't know he had an issue until I brought it up. And when I brought it up, he understood what I was getting at.
Right.
He was a good. He got it just like that. So
the issue is never. Well, the issue is, what if I have a problem? The hope is that you never have the problem.
Correct.
Although I am hoping for a hailstorm to hit my home. But beside that, but the idea, but you have insurance, hoping nothing happens, and thankful that you have it if and when it does. Mm-hmm. And that, you don't have rental properties to say, gosh, I can't wait until I get sued.
Yeah.
That's not why you do that.
No.
So, yeah, and you have some people and they've got 15, 20 different properties and they've had them for years and years and years and no issues and good renters and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Awesome. And then you have first-time homeowner, somebody comes over, they get drunk, trip over their own toe, and they're like, I'm going to sue you for everything. So it's luck of the draw. Yeah, to an extent. It's a little bit out of your control, but that's why you have somebody who can walk you through and say, this is your exposure, choose or not choose to do something to close that gap.
I told both of these folks the same thing. The one that has the gap in coverage, that I'm like, hey, I have one quote, or if you could wait a few days, I might have another quote. But I told both of them, which I tell everybody, look, I'm not the one that has to write the check for the premium. I get it. But guess what? I'm also not the one that has to write the check whenever there's a claim that doesn't pay.
Yeah, and I damn sure don't want the nasty phone call saying that we never told you.
No, so that's why I try to be as specific. That's why I try to.
And that's the thing. Again, we cannot prevent bad things from happening, but we can protect you as best we can when it happens. Mm-hmm. And that's why we don't want the people who are trying to skate by at the absolute bare minimum. Hey, I have to check this box for whatever purpose, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. Because the moment you have to make a claim is when all of a sudden insurance makes sense and insurance should pay for everything. Mm-hmm. Well, why do I pay all this money? Well, you don't pay a lot in the big scheme of things. Mm-hmm. So anyway, it's a tough.
The new general manager of the place I was mentioning before.
Again, new.
I had, the new general manager. I had him and the owner on the phone, and the general manager was like, listen, I've been doing this a long time. And he goes, and I didn't have to say anything. He said, he goes, if you skimp on the coverage, it's going to hurt you on a claim.
Done.
So what do you want to do?
We've said it before, and if you don't pay now, you pay later when the claim happens. You're paying at some point.
Yeah, and the thing is that with as many companies that we have and the way that we try to do things, you may not end up paying more. I've got a company right now where they had a policy that was $30,000 a year. That's how they reached out to me. They were referred to me. I found them the exact same policy, the exact same coverages for guess how much?
22.
$6,000 a year.
Dang. I never would have guessed that.
6,000.
I thought I was setting you up to fail at my 18 guess.
No, I've had them for 4 or 5 years now. The premiums went up.
Sure.
It's $8,000.
Wow.
And 5 years ago, it was 30.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
So it's not that we're not necessarily going to be more expensive, but we just don't look at it as on a premium basis.
Right.
Right. So.
But we love saving money.
We love saving you money. And there's some people out there that are written really, really well. That maybe it is about the dollar amount. Maybe it is about the service that they get.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah,
are you there when I call?
That, right?
We just said that, right? Where it's like, why does Chick-fil-A have lines out onto wrapped around their thing? Because every time you go to a Chick-fil-A, you get service with a smile. And I'm here to tell you, you don't get that with every other place. Yeah. You don't get that with sit-down places. You don't get that. I mean, there's something to it. And people say everyone wants fast and now and easy. And we're still people, we're still humans, and we still want that interaction. And we still want people to be kind to us, to service us sounds, to pay attention when we have a question, answer that question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that
fill the
happens.
needs.
We have a client that's somewhat newer, not brand new, maybe a couple of months, and we went into it, and we started. They were complaining about their current insurance agent. They can't get a hold of them, and they can't get a hold of them. And it took them forever to respond to whenever they needed. It's a commercial client. Yeah. Where they needed proof of insurance, called a certificate of insurance. We can't get them, and it's 2 or 3 weeks before we get them. Something simple. And I'm like, okay, we can. Let me look at that. So we got to looking at their policies. Well, guess what? They were written with a company that doesn't even cover what it is that they do. Right. Because we have that company, so we call them up. I'm like, do you insure this type of risk? We didn't tell them who it was. Right. They're like, oh, no, we don't do that. No. Well, guess what? They were written through them. Right. So we had to move them. We moved them. Overall, we saved them about $10,000. But you all and that's great. But that wasn't the goal. No, eliminating the headache and making sure that they could then operate their business, because you have to show those certificates of insurance to be able to get jobs. That's right. If you're a contractor, you have to be able, hey, here it is. And if you can't do that, they're on to the next guy. Yep. So same thing for them, where you may have been cheaper. Our client may have been cheaper, but and the better option. But if you can't provide what's needed, then they can't move on with the job, and then they lose the job. And it's this. Yeah. No. So again, service, value, all of the things. Let's wrap it up. Yeah. For commercial stuff, we have 3 people that know how to do certificates of insurance. So we can get those turned around fairly quickly as long as we have all the information. Yeah, we're small but mighty. Yeah. So I don't know how much time we have. I'm guessing we're getting close to the end. All right. She's telling me wrap it up. Wrap it up, baby. Wrap it up. Wrap it up. Well, this has been another episode of Insurance Gone Wild. If you have questions, comments, topics, give us a call, 817-753-0093, or email us, contact@igwpodcast.com. My mind went blank. Contact@igwpodcast.com. We'd love to hear from you guys. We do, as a matter of fact, we do hear from people face to face, not so much via email or phone call. I know. I wish we would be stalked a little more online. Yeah, me too. Just stalk us. We're pretty fun. We do have some comments on some of our stuff. It's me. But anyway, check us out. IGW Insurance Gone Wild on Facebook, facebook.com/Insurance Gone Wild. YouTube channel, Insurance Gone Wild.
People are gone by this point.
Hit our like and subscribe button. All right, we'll talk to you again. Thank you.